Chances are that you've ever felt like you're just everybody's doormat, constantly being taken advantage of, walked all over, and disrespected. Well, my friends, today we're going to delve deep into the ancient wisdom that can put a stop to people messing around with you once and for all. You see, the truth is, you don't have to settle for being everybody's punching bag. There are powerful psychological and philosophical principles that can help you reclaim your power, set healthy boundaries, and demand the respect you deserve. And we're going to uncover them, starting right now. In this video, we'll explore powerful principles rooted in Stoic philosophy, shadow work, and behavioral science that will fundamentally shift how people interact with you and stop taking advantage of you. We're talking about becoming someone people respect, not someone they use or will be messing around with. Before getting into this ancient wisdom that will stop people from messing around with you, I urge you to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications as your little way of supporting us and letting YouTube know that you're finding real value in this video. So let's start with the foundation that can transform you from a doormat to a force to be reckoned with. It's that 1, you teach people how to treat you. I know that this will shake your worldview, but here's what's happening to you. You're not a victim of disrespect. You're often the architect of it. I know that stings, but stay with me. Every time you accept behavior that violates your boundaries, you're training people. You're showing them the limits of what they can get away with. And here's the kicker. They're not being malicious. They're simply responding to the rules you've established through your actions, not your words. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus understood this deeply when he said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This ancient wisdom cuts to the heart of the doormat dynamic. If you can't master your own boundaries, you'll forever be subject to everyone else's agenda. Put simply, this means every unreturned favor you excuse, every disrespectful comment you laugh off, every last-minute plan change you accommodate without pushback. These aren't isolated incidents, they're lessons. And people are excellent students when it comes to figuring out what they can get away with. Think about it this way. You have a coworker who constantly dumps their work on you. The first time, maybe you helped out of kindness. By the 10th time, you've taught them that your time is less valuable than theirs, that your workload is flexible, that you won't say no. The psychology here is straightforward. Behavior that gets rewarded gets repeated. If boundary-crossing behavior meets no resistance, why would anyone change? You're not being taken advantage of despite your nature. You're being taken advantage of because of your choices. 2, you're not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are not responsible for how people feel about your boundaries. People pleasers carry an impossible burden. They think they're responsible for managing everyone's emotional experience. If someone is disappointed, angry, or hurt by your boundary, they take it on as their failure. This is a setup for lifelong exhaustion. Albert Ellis, founder of rational emotive behavior therapy, taught that we cannot control others' emotions, we can only control our responses to situations. As he would say, it's not events that disturb us, but our view of them. If someone feels upset by your reasonable boundary, that's their work to do, not yours to fix. You can be compassionate without being responsible. You can acknowledge their feelings without changing your boundary to accommodate them. Think about this scenario. You tell your mother you won't be visiting every single weekend anymore because you need time for yourself. She's hurt. She says you don't love her anymore. The people-pleasing response is to immediately backtrack, apologize, and promise to visit more. The healthy response is, "I understand you're disappointed and I love you. This is what works for me." The discomfort of holding a boundary while someone is upset is intense. But here's what you need to understand. Their discomfort is not evidence that you're wrong. Sometimes people need to be uncomfortable with your growth. That's how relationships evolve or end. Either way, it's honest. Believe it or not, this simple truth can rewrite your story. When you stop managing everyone's emotions, you finally have energy for your own life. You stop being a supporting character in everyone else's story and become the protagonist of your own. The people who truly love you will eventually respect your boundaries, even if they don't like them initially. And the people who can't, they're showing you who they are. Believe them. Stop messing around with trying to make them understand. They understand, they just don't care. Your job is to care about yourself enough to act accordingly. 3. Recognize your own worth. One of the primary reasons people tend to treat you like doormats is that you don't fully recognize your own inherent worth and value. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it. In other words, if you don't believe you deserve respect and dignity, you'll unconsciously send that message to the world, and people will treat you accordingly. You may find yourself constantly making excuses for others' bad behavior, or even blaming yourself when they take advantage of you. But what if I told you that the key to putting a stop to this doormat mentality isn't to fight fire with fire, but to develop a deep, unshakable sense of self-worth? Practices like self-compassion, mindfulness, and shadow work can help us recognize our own unique gifts, talents, and strengths, and refuse to let anyone diminish or disrespect them. It's about learning to be our own best friend, so we don't have to rely on external validation to feel valuable. 4. Respect flows to those who respect themselves first. Before I proceed, know that you're an exception for making it this far. Most people scroll past uncomfortable truths about their role in their own struggles, but you're here, willing to look honestly at yourself. That's the first step toward real change. Now let's talk about something fundamental. You cannot demand respect you don't embody. Other people's respect for you is simply a mirror of your respect for yourself. When you consistently violate your own boundaries, accept crumbs, or tolerate disrespect, you're broadcasting to the world, "This is how I see my value." Feel free to agree. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, understood this when he wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." But the trial here isn't enduring poor treatment, it's developing the self-respect to stop accepting it. This, in plain terms, signifies that respect isn't something you beg for or explain into existence. It's something you embody through consistent action. When you treat your time as valuable, others will too. When you treat your needs as legitimate, others will too. When you treat yourself with dignity, others will too. Think about someone you deeply respect. Chances are they don't tolerate nonsense. They don't over-explain their boundaries. They simply live in alignment with their values, and people naturally respect that clarity. Now think about yourself. Do you defend your boundaries or apologize for having them? Do you state your needs clearly or hint at them, hoping someone will guess? Do you walk away from disrespect or rationalize why it's okay this one time? The people messing around with you aren't the problem. They're the symptom. The problem is that you've signaled through countless micro behaviors that you're available for disrespect. Your job isn't to make them change. Your job is to change what you accept. 5. No is a complete sentence. All right, are you ready for the part that completely turns people into willing doormats people mess around with? Here it is. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries. The word no is complete. It doesn't require justification, defense, or a 3-paragraph explanation with supporting evidence. Yet most people-pleasers cannot say no without launching into an elaborate justification, as if they're on trial and need to prove their case. The Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron speaks to this when she teaches about staying present with discomfort. She reminds us that the most fundamental aggression to ourselves is to remain ignorant by not having the courage to look at ourselves honestly. This means that when you over-explain your no, you're actually seeking permission to have boundaries. You're treating your needs as something requiring external validation. And you're teaching people that your boundaries are negotiable if they can just find the right counterargument to your explanation. Imagine someone asks you to work late on a Friday when you have plans. The doormat response, "Oh, I'd love to help, but you see, I have this thing and I already committed and I feel terrible, but my friend will be upset and I already canceled last time." You're basically begging them to understand and approve. The response that commands respect: "I'm not available Friday evening, period." If they push, "I understand you need help, but my answer is no." If they continue pushing, "I've already given you my answer." Can you see the difference? One invites negotiation and guilt tripping, the other states reality. You're not being mean here, you're being clear. And clarity is kindness, both to yourself and to others who need to know where they stand. Here's what happens when you start using no as a complete sentence. Initially, people who are used to messing around with you will escalate. They'll guilt trip, get angry, or call you selfish. This isn't proof that you're wrong, it's proof that you're changing the rules of a game they were winning. Hold firm. The discomfort is temporary. Self-respect is permanent. 6. You attract what you tolerate. Let me show you why this one fact changes everything. The people in your life aren't random. They're a perfect match for your boundaries or lack thereof. Users, manipulators, and energy vampires have a sixth sense for people who won't push back. They're not targeting you specifically. They're responding to signals you're sending out. Your over-accommodation, your fear of conflict, your need to be liked, these are neon signs that say, "I'm available for exploitation." Robert Cialdini's research on persuasion and influence reveals that people unconsciously test boundaries. They're not necessarily being predatory, they're simply seeing what's acceptable. And if everything is acceptable, that's exactly what they'll give you. Everything they can take. It means your circle of relationships is a direct reflection of what you've been willing to tolerate. Want better people in your life? Become someone who doesn't tolerate poor behavior. The universe will adjust accordingly. Think about your most exhausting relationship. What would happen if you suddenly enforced clear boundaries? Either the person would adjust their behavior and the relationship would improve, or they'd leave because they can't get what they want anymore. Either outcome is better than the current situation where you're being drained. But here's the part that scares most people. When you raise your standards, some people will leave, and that's okay. Actually, it's necessary. Making room for people who respect you requires removing people who don't. You can't have both. The principle here is simple but profound. You don't need to become harsh or cold. You just need to become selective. Stop giving your time, energy, and resources to people who've proven they don't value them. Start investing in people who reciprocate, appreciate, and respect boundaries. 7. The right people will respect your boundaries. Last one, and it's the liberating truth that will rewrite your story. Anyone who gets angry at your healthy boundaries is someone who is benefiting from you having none. This is the ultimate litmus test. People who genuinely care about you will respect your needs. They might be surprised at first if you've trained them otherwise, but they'll adjust. People who were using you will get angry, defensive, or disappear entirely. The Dalai Lama teaches that compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded, it's a relationship between equals. But you can't have a relationship between equals when you're constantly subordinating your needs to someone else's wants. This means that real relationships can withstand boundaries. Actually, they require them. Resentment and martyrdom don't create connection, they create dysfunction. The people meant to be in your life will appreciate your clarity because it allows them to relax, knowing exactly where they stand. Imagine you finally tell your friend you can't always be their late-night therapist. If they respond with guilt-tripping or anger, that tells you everything. The relationship was one-sided, and they valued what you could provide more than who you are. If they respond with understanding and respect, you've just deepened the relationship through honesty. The fear that everyone will leave if you have boundaries is actually backwards. The right people, the ones who see you as a whole person, not a resource, will respect you more. And the people who leave, they were never really there for you anyway. They were there for what you could do for them. This is where ancient wisdom meets modern reality. Quality over quantity in relationships. Better to have 3 people who genuinely respect you than 30 who only value what you provide. The Stoics understood this. Surround yourself with people of virtue or learn to be content alone. Never compromise your integrity for the company. Conclusion. Remember that the ancient Stoics combined with modern psychology and neuroscience all point to the same truth. You teach people how to treat you through what you accept, not through what you say. The power has always been yours, you just had to reclaim it. These principles aren't encouraging you to be closed off. They're asking you to become authentic, about honoring yourself enough to stop betraying your needs for temporary approval. If this video helped you see your situation more clearly, consider subscribing so we can continue exploring how ancient wisdom applies to modern life challenges. Hit that like button to help others who need this message find it, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into reclaiming your power. Thank you for watching and for having the courage to stop being everyone's doormat. See you in our next video.